and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me once again to break down the DraftKings slate for the Ruoff Mortgage 500 at Phoenix Raceway, plus our current betting card, our any potential ads we're going to look at, all this stuff with qualifying now in the book. It's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
How's it going, Kyle? I'm looking forward to this race, being it's the first track that we've seen. It's, technically a short track, so we really get to see the throttle work by these drivers. And if qualifying is any indication of what we're going to see on Sunday, you and I are looking fairly good in terms of our pre-qualifying betting card. But only time will tell as the race gets here on Sunday, especially with these new cars.
Yeah, the schedule's really worked out well for us from a track like we've seen all kinds of different tracks, right? We've seen we've seen shorter ones, we've seen super speedways, we've seen 1.5 miles, 2 miles, a little more banking, a little more flat. We're just, basically a road course away from finishing it up. So it has been nice to kind of get a vibe of where these cars may be and what they may be doing and all that good stuff. But qualifying is in the books. We have a lot going on. The big news is Kyle Larson had an inspection issue and has moved to the back, even though he qualified 7th. As of now, we haven't seen anything else pop up on our timeline. But we will, if we see something that we need to address, we'll obviously tweet that out. If you're enjoying the show, if you're, betting, playing DFS, whatever with us, please hit that thumbs up button. Please hit subscribe. We are marching towards 500 and maybe even 1,000. If everybody can just click those buttons based upon the views, we should be getting a lot closer to that number. So if you could please do that. Tell a friend who plays NASCAR DFS, who's interested in NASCAR, who likes to bet. This is a fun sport to bet, a fun sport to play DFS. So share our content around. It really, really, really goes a long way to helping us. But Brian, let's jump into it, and we will look at the DraftKings board with qualifying in the books and Kyle Larson 11-8 start, obviously starting in the back. Technically, for a DraftKings perspective, he's starting 7th. Where's your head at with him? I know we were talking about this for a little bit before, but like in terms of this track, there's going to be a lot of like follow the leader. Mm-hmm. And we normally love to jump on Kyle Larson because even when he starts in the back, he can still move up to the front. And maybe that is the case. And maybe I shouldn't fade him just because of where he's starting. But like at 11-8, is he going to be somebody that makes a lot of your lineups as somebody you're interested in on DraftKings?
Now that he's fallen all the way to the rear, it's going to be a little more difficult just because this is a 1 mile track. So it's going to take a little bit of time for him to work his way back up to that 7th spot, let alone try to get into the lead and get those dominator points. So I am slightly worried about that, and having to deal with all that traffic, maneuvering his way up to the front and the potential of any issues. It definitely does scare me a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see what his ownership's like, because it'll really tell the sharps versus the public, or who's experienced at playing this and who isn't, as to what kind of risk they're willing to take with a Kyle Larson, knowing how good he is at these kinds of races. And that he's starting in the back, but there are a ton of laps here. So it's still within the realm of possibility that he leads over 100 laps in this race, and there's like nothing to it.
Yeah. And we've seen, especially with his pit crew, how he can move up 5, 6, 8 spots pretty easily with a really hyper efficient pit stop. And, even starting where he is, he should have a decent pit stall. So I'm kind of optimistic on him. And I think at his price tag, where he'll end up going, and, he's obviously got the recognition because of how awesome he's been. But, we might get a little bit of a discount and might be a guy that I actually find myself gravitating towards a little more than maybe I would have if he was just starting 7th. The rest of the names in that upper elite tier: Kyle Busch 11-2, Chase Elliott 10-7, Joey Logano, my guy, 10-4, Denny Hamlin 10-1. Yeah, so in the like kind of that 10 to low 11s, where what name jumps out, what name interests you, kind of in that bunch?
I mean, Hamlin starting on the front row, he has a good opportunity to lead a ton of laps from the
Yep.
beginning of the race and onward, especially knowing that his pit crew traditionally is one of the fastest in the Cup Series. So if he's able to get in and out of the pits pretty quickly and not have any issues like he did last week in Las Vegas, I think he makes for a good play at the top for a dominator, especially with the possibility of leading triple-digit laps, which I think we've seen at least one driver do that in each of the previous 3 races, or pretty close to it. So if you're trying to go for a dominator, I think he makes a lot of sense.
Yep. No, I think he makes a lot of sense. Provides a nice little, in terms of salary, like he's the lowest price option of this group, which is kind of interesting. I love Joey Logano. I've been pumping the tires since Monday. Starting 10th, has a chance to get to the front early, has a chance to lead a lot of laps. I, still believe he can win this race. So, love him. And Chase Elliott starting 19th. We've seen his success at this track. We've seen, his success on the style of track. So he, even though starting 19th, I could see him, much like Larson, getting to the front towards the middle to the end, leading enough laps where he's not only giving you the movement points, but dominating the last third of the race and potentially ending up in victory lane. So I like him a lot at 10-7.
I'm mad at Chase Elliott, so you can.
Is he Brad Keselowski, or is he like a little bit
No,
higher than that?
this is like a go sleep on the couch tonight kind of angry. So it's like it's a one race
One race cool
like
down.
send
We'll
off.
drop down to the 9Ks, and even and we'll go all the way down to 8. So we got Ryan Blaney, obviously your pole sitter, 9,600. William Byron starting third, 9,400. Kevin Harvick, 91. Kurt Busch, 89. Alex Bowman, your winner from last week, 87, starting 9th. Tyler Reddick is starting 12th, 85. Our guy Christopher Bell, 8,300, starting 4th, qualified hot once again. Let's see if he can
Keep telling everyone.
have a little bit better of a race. Your guy Brad Keselowski starting 18th at 82, and then my guy Ross Chastain, 8,100, a guy that I think is taking strides and I think will actually perform better than maybe some anticipate. So I guess in this range, what are you looking at? Who stands out? Anyone you're avoiding? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a spot if you want to pivot off of a Denny Hamlin. I think going with Blaney or Byron here makes a ton of sense, knowing how fast they were in practice and in qualifying, and just how good they've been on the track when they're not wrecking or when Brad Keselowski's not ruining their day. And like I said, I mean, so this is a 312 lap race. Starting at the front on a short track, unless you run into car problems or you get made contact with, there's a good likelihood that you're going to stay up near the front pretty much the whole day, barring any unforeseen challenges in the pits. So, going with Blaney or Byron to begin your card, I think is a nice way to save some salary for a dominator spot before you start kind of filling it in with, even like you said, a Chase Elliott at whatever 10-7 starting where he is at the potential for placement points.
Yeah, I think pairing one of these guys with Chase Elliott and or Kyle Larson makes a lot of sense. So you get them to dominate the race from the jump, and then have either Elliott or Larson, whoever you like, kind of take over for that second half of the race, and that
Yeah.
could make a lot of sense. I also like Christopher Bell. We both really like him. He's been super fast. 8,300 could be a really nice value as a dominator. And then you do the same thing with Larson or with Chase Elliott, and then you have a nice little 1-2 punch there, and then you kind of fill in the rest of your lineup accordingly. So I think that kind of option makes a lot of sense.
I will say Brad Keselowski is an absolute avoid until further notice. I mean, not just because of my hatred for him. It's also has a lot to do with his form on the track. I mean, this guy is spinning out every single week. He's been involved in a wreck at least once in every race so far.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look like the same old Brad Keselowski. And hopefully it continues that way. I mean, the karma needs to go bad in his direction instead of him stealing my bets. So
we'll dip into the 7K and take a look at some options here. We'll even Almirola starting 5th. He's a guy that I really like to perform well. But on DraftKings, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there. It feels like a steep price to pay for a guy starting where he's starting. Cindric starting 8th, Austin Dillon 13, Allmendinger making his first appearance of the season, Ricky Stenhouse starting 36 at 7K. It might be my favorite value in this range. What say you?
yeah, I think for me, one of my favorite drivers this week is Eric Jones, starting
Yep.
14th at 7,400. I mean, I would have preferred to see him start the grid a little bit further back, so that way we got a little more placement points, just because I think he's got a good chance to top 10. So you're not really expecting very many placement points here, but I do think that he can get into the top 10, and at 7,400, I think that's a good cost. And then, of course, Stenhouse starting at the back of the field. I didn't really get a chance to see too much into why that is, but it looked like he didn't actually qualify today. So maybe he's going to a backup car. And, you know, we saw Kyle Busch last week go to a backup car and he ran pretty damn well. So
he went to a Denny Hamlin park car.
Yeah.
And ran really well. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, anytime you can get a driver starting at the back of the field who normally runs in the middle of the field, that's. But the one thing about Stenhouse though is I'm sure he's going to be owned in a ton of lineups with that, with everyone kind of knowing that.
So it sounds like he had an engine issue, and that's why he's starting where he's starting.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
he's not rocking the Sunny D car, so we can't be as excited about him.
No.
But still lots of reason for optimism. And then we dip into the 6K and below. Anybody in the 6K range and even into 5 that you're really excited to use, potentially could be a nice value, anything like that, anyone that jumps out to you there?
Well, I think the two names for me are, well, actually, there's 3 of them. Cole Custer starting 25th at 6,200. I really like the combo of Ty Dillon and Harrison Burton. I think both those guys are really good options this week. And then actually the third one is that Gilliland at 4,900 starting 33rd. You referenced it, what RotoDoc said on our Wednesday show, that he's run really well here. And with all the things that are happening this weekend with that particular race family, I mean, there's going to be some good luck coming his way potentially this weekend. And if he gets up to 10, 12 spots at $4,900, that is the value of the week.
Yep. And BJ McLeod, 4,600. He's not going to be sexy. He's not going to win the race, but he might do just enough to stay on the lead lap
and not crash.
Get you a top 25, and and obviously offers a lot of salary savings. So that's another interesting way to go if you're looking below 5K. So, Brian, we will build yet another lineup this week, and I will let you have the tea. Who is the driver you want to start our lineup with this week?
Honestly, it's coming. It's happening. I got to start with Blaney starting on the pole. I think of all the guys starting up there at the front, he offers the best value and potential for victory.
Okay. I like it. I am going to go down to Ricky Stenhouse. He might be popular. I don't really care. At starting 36 at 7K, I think he can reward our lineup significantly. So I'm going to use him.
All right, let's take a gander a little bit further up here.
Truex starting 20th is very, very interesting.
I was just gonna say, I feel like he was kind of dogging it in practice and qualifying. Not much has been said about him this week, but Kevin Harvick starting 16th at 9,100, a guy who people can hate on him. He just seems to be there at the end inside the top 10. So at 9,000, that's yes.
Yep, I like that call. I like that call a lot. So we still need one more Dominator. But I'm gonna go with my guy Ross, the boss, Chastain. 8,100, starting 17th. I think he can reward us very nicely, and movement points, finish inside that top 10, potentially inside the top 5. I think he has a nice race this weekend, and maybe we're holding on a little too long for a guy that's getting ready to kind of revert to normalcy, but I bet him this week. I like him on DraftKings. I'm gonna make sure he gets in our lineups.
All right. So let's scroll down a little bit here. I think we're gonna stay in this range, and I talked about him. Eric Jones, 7,400 at 14th. He's been too good when he hasn't crashed to kind of avoid him at this cost, even starting at that 14th number. I think there's a good chance he's inside the top 10 this week.
Yep, and that leaves one driver starting 4th. This is where I'm thinking.
I mean, we talked about him at the beginning of the week, and we keep telling people you need to get on his numbers before they do practice and qualifying, because on track he's been great. You can't just look at results, because a lot of times that's out of the driver's hands in terms of a lot of that stuff that happens. So like Bell is a guy who every single week for me, betting wise, I'm smashing up until the books adjust. It's just difficult to get to him at 4th.
No, that's fair. I'm trying to find a second Dominator that we can pair with Blaney. Because obviously we're not going to get to Chase. We're not going to get to Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin's kind of out of the picture. And maybe we don't need that. But I feel like someone should be, we should
honestly, we could probably dump Eric Jones, since he was the last one.
Okay.
And then maybe we go with Byron as the second Dominator. So that way we get exposure to the Hendrick team as well.
Yep. I like where your head's at. And then we dive down here, and then I think Cole Custer at 6,200 makes a lot of sense. I think your guy Ty Dillon at 59 makes a lot of sense. And if we want to get real crazy, we go down to Gilliland at 30.
Okay, again, this brings it up. Are we tournament, or is this kind of...
I think we're always tournament. We're trying to win all the money. So
go with Gilliland.
Yep. Leave some money on the table, build a nice lineup. This could be the win. This could be the winner.
We just need to hope that Gilliland and Stenhouse have good pace.
Yeah,
early,
and I feel like hoping for both of them is probably not the move, but you only live once, Brian. So
that's right.
We'll shoot for all the monies and see what we can get going. Let's shift over. Let's look at the updated betting odds and see if we can't find some interesting numbers, interesting values. Before we do that, though, let's throw up our current betting card, and people can get a sense of where we're at, and they can get a sense of where the numbers have gone, and we can obviously figure out if we're still betting these guys at these numbers. This is why it's important that you join us on Wednesdays, because you get better numbers. It's just the matter of fact. So on my outrights, I'm looking at Logano at 9.5 to 1, Christopher Bell at 9.5 to 1. Your outrights are incorrect because I was trying to mess with the design too much and not actually looking at the outrights you made. So you have Ryan Blaney at 13. You have Denny Hamlin.
I got that last night, the Hamlin one.
Okay. And then William Byron at 16 and Christopher Bell at 25. So, we're holding some nice winners there, or potential winners rather.
Yeah.
I got Logano top 5 at minus 125. I actually bet it at plus money. But for the show purposes, I took the minus 125 because that's what was there. Ross Chastain to top 5 at plus 350. Ross Chastain to top 10 at plus 165. Brian has Ty Dillon to top 10 at 18-1. Eric Jones top 10, 2-1, 2 plus 210. Cole Custer top 10 plus 370. Christopher Bell minus 125 to top 10. Eric Almirola top 10 minus 120. Ryan Blaney top 5 plus 140. And Christopher Bell top 5 at 3 plus 310. So those are some nice numbers. I went Logano over Truex for the show. Brian and I are also going head to head on that. I have Logano. He has Truex. We're going even money for that one. But wanted to list the odds. So if you want to bet it. And Brian also has Bell over Bowman. And then he has Bell over Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and Brad Keselowski. That's not correct. What's the odds there?
It's I got it at 260,
Plus
but
260.
I actually last night at an offshore snagged it at plus 290.
Nice.
And this morning, or prior to recording, I went back to look. He's actually now plus 180 in that same group.
That's value, my friend.
Yes, sir.
And then I went Ross Chastain over Kurt Busch, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe at plus 265. So that's kind of where we're standing. But let's look at outright market and kind of find some values, maybe some people that now that we have qualifying in the books, we're considering, we're looking at all that good stuff. Bear with me while I pull up my little cheat sheet just to make sure I'm on brand. So we got Kyle Larson as your favorite, 4.5 to 1. Ryan Blaney at 6, Byron at 8. Hamlin is now 6, 6.5, or 7, depending on where you look in most places. Joey Logano is 10 to 1 across the board, so that might be a number that I rebet. Like I said, I'm a big fan this week. You can get Elliott anywhere from 8 to 10. Kyle Busch is at 10.
I feel like Martin Truex, there's a slight overcorrection to where he qualified at, because he's been maybe the best, quite possibly the second best driver at this track over the years. So if you could get him at 14 to 1, I know he's starting middle of the field, but he's been tremendous at Phoenix. So
yeah, and it's all about these numbers. Like, obviously we talk Wednesday and we see the numbers and we make decisions based on those, and then when we reassess if the number has gone too short, then we, obviously we're pivoting. And if the number has gone too long, then we're ready to attack. So Logano at 10 to 1, Truex at 14 to 1, I think are my two favorite options. We liked Hamlin, but I think 9 to 1 was amazing. I think 6.5 or 7. I'm not sure I'm going to get there.
And then the same thing with Blaney and Byron. Like earlier in the week, we got them at well over double digits. That's why early betting, especially for NASCAR, is something to kind of get in the habit of. Just anticipating who's going to qualify. Try to anticipate who do you think is going to qualify based on the way they've been performing this year. Like Byron, for instance, doesn't have the greatest history at this track, but this season he's been one of the fastest cars on track. So you kind of figured this was going to happen. And so getting in on his number early is a good way to kind of hedge off the books and,
100%
get way more value than what you're going to see come race time.
100%. Beyond the 10 to 1 or inside, well, we got Christopher Bell. He's still hanging out at like between 18 and 25. I think if you can get him at 18, I think I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, it's still a good number for sure. Especially, I mean, it's hard to argue against what he's been doing, I guess, qualifying. And then even last week, he finished 10th, but he ran into some issues again. He qualified on pole. So
yeah, he's somebody that I'm still willing to go to. I don't know that I'm in love with anybody else in this range. Almirola is a guy I like for this track, but I don't know that I'm ready to bet him in the outright market, especially at 20, 22. Like, I'd rather bet him if I get him at like 40 in a track that I like him, or even 35. I think I'd be a lot more comfortable. But at 20, 22, it's just a little too short. You going to Brad Keselowski at 40, Brian?
I wouldn't even bet him if he was 100 to 1.
I am going to take Ross Chastain.
That's a good number, 60 to 1.
At 60. Yeah, that's a number I can get behind. So I am adding that. I've already had a top 10 and a top 5, so I might as well just take the outright. Bet a quarter unit, see what
I was just gonna
happens.
say, yeah, it'd be tiny.
So thanks to DK for that number.
It's kind of crazy to me just looking at all the different sports books and seeing how their odds deviate.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
feel like
FanDuel,
FanDuel will like look at what DraftKings did and give you like a tenth of a point better just to try and grab some
yeah, it's
attention.
funny how it almost seems as if they're playing off of each other, or at least FanDuel's playing off of DK. Because DraftKings, for me, has the largest selection of bets
Yeah.
for a race.
Although I know I've noticed some of the placing, like DraftKings might have some better numbers, and FanDuel, it's not just a straight formula, which I think is
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, there's bookmakers, like there's
Right,
people who are making the numbers.
right, and it's not like, and it's like we talked about, like Eric Almirola, great guy for a top 5, not necessarily to win. So his number isn't going to be the same. Where Ricky Stenhouse is more of I think he has a better chance to win. Where if he doesn't win, he's crashing and burning and ending up on the side of the track. So
Yeah.
Eric Jones at 75.
I don't know if he can get the win here, though.
Yeah.
I like him to crack the top 10 potentially. Oh, dang. Okay, if you can get the dinger at 200 to 1, like just bet a
Let's
unit
look. So
on
let's
that,
head
or
over to
even
DraftKings. That's where we were going next, anyways. So let's look at
even bet a tenth of a unit on that.
let's find the dinger. Yep, the dinger is 60. So
Like, come on.
yeah, I think some of these numbers aren't necessarily.
That was definitely
Oh no,
pre-qualifying.
that's
Oh,
Caesars.
that's
No,
Caesars.
that's our friends over at Caesars. They get real reckless over there.
Oh man, if you have access to Caesars, you
Yeah,
need to place at least $1 on that.
yeah,
Because we've
yeah.
seen the dinger before come in and just be the ringer and perform
The
extremely well
dinger
on
is
the
the
track.
ringer. Yeah, but he's like I don't know. Like I don't.
He's
He's
a
so
road
much.
course guy. I don't know. I'm not so keen on him
Yeah.
for the short track, but
Yeah. And
still,
we talked about him, or we talked about that team for can they get one win? And I was expecting the road course to be the spot, but
yeah.
interesting numbers. So we'll head over and look at DraftKings, look at some placing numbers. Truex top 3 at plus 225, 125 to top 5. I don't hate those at all. Anything in terms of placings you like in this range?
Like I said, I like the Truex number at getting plus money because earlier in the week that was like close to 1 to 2
Yeah.
for him to top 5, knowing he was the second favorite to win the race. So now that you get that over even money, I love that. It even getting the Christopher Bell still at 2 to 1, I think is a decent number.
Yeah, I mean, you got him at 3 to 1,
Yeah,
which
I
is
got him at over
amazing.
3. Like it's I'm not going to bet it again at that price,
Right.
but if you're just now getting into the market, I think that's pretty good. And then Almirola could potentially sneak there.
Yeah, 3 to 1 for Almirola, I think is a nice number. Once again, don't love him necessarily to win the race at even at 20 or 25, but think that could be interesting. Chastain's 4 to 1 now. Let's see what I got him at. Yeah, I got him at 3.5, so it's kind of a little longer. I'd be very fine with that. I also don't hate the 14 to 1 to top 3. I think that could make some sense. As Brian mentioned with the dinger, 7 to 1 to top 5. That you're gonna throw a couple bucks on 200. I mean, that could be an
Yeah.
interesting spot. Stenhouse and Eric Jones also makes some sense. Stenhouse at 80 is I don't hate that.
That's hard though because he is starting at the rear of the
Yeah.
field. I don't know if he's up to the same quality as Kyle Larson to be
Let's
able to
look
maneuver his way all the way up.
let's look at the top 10 market and see if we can't find some values there. That's where I always like to have fun. You can always find some Cole Custer at 3.5 to
Yeah,
1.
I still like that number a lot.
Yep. I think that's a really good number. And as a matter of fact, I am going to add it to my card as we do the show. And that's why I like doing this show with Brian, because we can discuss stuff and get to a point where we feel happy with it, and then we throw it on the card. I will look at what FanDuel has to offer, just because sometimes their top 10 market gives me like plus 360 instead of plus 350. I don't want to bet Austin Dillon. Thank you. Let's look at what their top 10 market has, and we can do some line comparison, because that is the ultimate way. If you can find value, jump on it. Almirola minus 120 to top 10 is nice.
Yeah, I almost feel like FanDuel is either
plus
extremely
370.
slow to adjust, or they simply just drop the same odds, hoping to bring in more wagers as we get closer to the race.
Yep. So I am adding Cole Custer top 10 at FanDuel plus 370. I think that's a really, really nice number. What's Ross the Boss? 165. Yeah, so that's what I have him at right now. Stenhouse is there. Eric Jones at 2-1 to top 10 is decent. Anyone else you want to look at while we're over here?
Well, I mean, the Dinger at plus 130 is not bad.
Yeah, I feel based on
what's Reddick's number at
he's plus 140 on DraftKings. Like, I'd much rather bet that. Tyler Reddick is on DraftKings. He is
even money.
And if we head over to FanDuel, he is minus 135.
Yeah, so
once again, DraftKings giving you a better number. That's why you shop this stuff, people.
All right, so I'm gonna add a Tyler Reddick top 10 to my ridiculously sized card this week. I'll go 1 unit on that.
We have fun. That's what this is for. Spray the board Sunday.
That's right.
Let's look at the matchups and see what we can get. I think here we go. So let me know if any of these matchups, Almirola versus Alex Bowman. Almirola minus 120 over Alex Bowman. What a time to be alive.
Right.
Byron over Blaney, or Blaney over Byron rather. Briscoe over Kurt Busch. Logano minus 115.
You know what? I have to get some exposure to that sick car that Kurt Busch is driving this week. So let's add this Kurt Busch over Chase Briscoe at plus 105 for a single unit here.
You know that Kurt Busch's color scheme matches the logo for this race, right? Like that can't be a coincidence.
No.
Look at this number now, Brian. I got it at plus money, I think. No, I got it at minus 105 for the show. I got it at plus money before we recorded. Now it's minus 130 to plus 110. You can get Martin Truex at plus money and make money either way. So that's not nothing.
What was the juice on the Kurt Busch? 105?
Let's see here. Kurt Busch minus 105. Or wait, who are you going against? Chase Briscoe?
Yeah, Briscoe.
Plus 105. You get plus money on that shit.
Yep.
Let's look at any props over here. We have some group betting. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott. They're all pretty much the same. Truex at plus 290. I don't hate that. I do like Logano, but that is interesting.
That just seems unfair to pit Kevin Harvick in the same group as Hamlin, Blaney, and Byron at this stage of their career.
Yeah, it's just you have to put them somewhere. You should put the old guys. Put the Harvick with Keselowski and
Kurt Busch.
Yeah. Got Hamlin versus Truex. We got Blaney versus Byron. The juice
you get a better number at Byron here.
Depending on who you bet. Chase Elliott at plus money over Denny Hamlin. I like that.
Nope.
Can't do it. Won't do it.
Oh, there you go. That's the same matchup at the very bottom of there. Kurt Busch versus Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, look, it's even over here. Both minus 112.
Yep.
And then if you do it over here, you get plus 105.
Yep.
That is why you shop it, people. That is why you shop it. Okay. Any other? So let's recap our cards, Brian. Talk about where we're at, and we can I'll put it up here for the people to see. Brian and I are tracking this all year long. So I have Joey Logano on FanDuel at 9.5 to 1 for one full unit. I have Christopher Bell at 25 to 1 for half a unit. And Ross Chastain, I just added at 60 to 1 for a quarter unit. I have two top fives, Joey Logano, which is my best bet from last week, minus 125, feeling really good about that number. Ross Chastain, top five, plus 350, feeling pretty good about that. Cole Custer, top 10, plus 370. Ross Chastain, I think I'm just gonna go one here because that's fine, and then two here for 165. Logano over Truex and Chastain. I'll put a unit here. So that's my betting card for the week. We will head over and look at what Brian has, as his is much longer than mine, but that's okay. He has Blaney at 13 to 1, or Hamlin at 9 to 1, Byron at 16 to 1, Christopher Bell at 25. He has Ty Dillon for top 10 at 18. He has Eric Jones 2 to 1. He has Cole Custer plus 370. Tyler Reddick
That's top 10.
Top 10 at even money. Christopher Bell, his best bet from our Wednesday show, to top 10 at minus 125. Almirola to top 10 at minus 120. Blaney top 5 at plus 140. Christopher Bell top 5 plus 310. He has Kurt Busch over Briscoe, Christopher Bell over Bowman, Christopher Bell over Reddick, Bowman and Keselowski, and then obviously our head-to-head for even money. So, Brian, I will give you the tee. Are you going to make one of these your best bets, or are you going to add to the card?
Well, I'm going to stick with the same driver, and I am going to make one of these my best bet for our pre-race show, and that's going to be going with Christopher Bell to just drive better and finish ahead of Alex Bowman. I don't really care where you get that line. I've seen it at minus 115. I've seen it at minus 105. I believe at like BetMGM right now. Yeah, it actually got better. But we're going back to like recency bias. Alex Bowman won last week's race, and yes, he's a great driver, but to me, Christopher Bell has been just kind of the most consistent of the two when he's been on track. I know he's crashed in a couple of the races, but I don't see a world where Bell starting fourth winds up falling that far into the pack.
Yep, I like it. I like it a lot. So as I mentioned, Joey Logano, top 5, minus 125 is my best bet. I might get a little reckless here, Brian. I might get a little.
Don't do it.
I might have to do it. As it is showtime. Let me look at what the. Let's look at finishing position. Joey Logano is winning the race.
Oh my gosh.
It is my best bet for our pre-show race. I am going to not only take the 9.5 for one unit, but I will also add
a 10 to 1 number, huh?
A 10 to 1. Up there. Here. At 10. I will put 2 units on it. Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
Messing up Brian's lovely formatting here. Yeah, I'm getting real reckless. You know, that's
terrifying.
It's March. I've been going crazy on college basketball. Why let it stop me there? Let's get the FanDuel. Let's get the DraftKings. Let's get all the stuff going, and let's take that Joey Logano 10 to 1. I will bold it just so we know. Joey Logano is going to win. Joey Logano is going to top 5. Those are my two best bets. Brian has that's from last week. He has Christopher Bell over Alex Bowman, which I love, and I will probably be betting after the show. And Christopher Bell to top 10. Those are our best bets. Let us know down in the comments your best bets for the Ruoff Mortgage 500 at Phoenix. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the race, win all the money, and we'll talk to you guys next time.